more power. Persuasive language, linguistic language. You know, a lot of your politicians today are going to school to learn to know how to speak linguistic language. What it is language that appeals to people and say nothing. How many have ever read speeches, especially one of the speeches that our now president gave? He actually gave a 30-minute speech and said nothing, absolutely nothing if you read it. Linguistic language. Language that's persuasive. Language that is good. A lot of pastors speak the same way. They speak with the language that appeals. Charismatic personality, a personality that people want to follow. You know, I tell people, if you follow me, you're going to jail with me. Secondly, this brings about a 10-nation confederation of Europe, a handful of nations that were once a part of the old Roman Empire. Daniel 2, 42 through 44. Daniel 7, 7, 8, and 20 through 24. This could be NATO, it could be a UN, it could be something else. A 10-nation confederation of Europe. The leader of this confederation will make a 7-year covenant with Israel. What do we hear? We want to make a covenant with Israel. We want Israel to make covenants and peace with others today. And this leader designs it to give Israel protection in the land and solve all their problems. Oh, Daniel talked about this. Many years even before it happened. Daniel, we call this Daniel's 7th week for the tribulation. Daniel 9:27. Three kings of the Confederacy rebel, but the rising dictator defeats them, emergency and undeniable leader. Daniel 7, 8, and 20 through 25. The king of the north will at this point in the middle of the tribulation attack Israel, who will then be dwelling in the land of comparative peace and safety because of the covenant. This king of the north comes with his Arab allies, the Pan-Arab bloc, and her allies. Ezekiel 38, 1 through 9. Countries are trying to connect with the Arabic countries. Basically, we say it's for oil. It might be, but what's happening here? The sixth, they'll go, the armies, these armies are destroyed on the mountain of Israel by the direct intervention of God. Ezekiel 38, 21 through 23. Seventh is the tremendous political vacuum in the world after the destruction of the king of the north. The white horse, the rider, won his territory by peace tactics, now becomes what? The beast, the possession of Satan himself. Revelation 13:10. These are the steps for the Antichrist. From this context, the dragon looks out over the sea of nations and then implements the system of the beast to carry out his desired goals, persecution of Israel, and his own worship. Now, we talked about that, remember? The number one goal, or number two goals, actually two goals of the Satan is what? To destroy Israel and to destroy the church, the Christians. Because with them out of the place, guess what? There's no one calling sin, sin. No sense of morality. You can just do what you please do, you know. Nobody. That's the reason why a lot of people really don't want to hear Christians, don't want to talk to Christians, don't want, you know, I heard a pastor today is you got to become friends and so forth with them. And that's true. But in our culture, nobody really wants to hear what Christians have to say. In politics, they don't want to hear what a Christian has to say. 9, he'll break the covenant with Israel and magnify himself as God. Revelation 12:13, 2 Thessalonians 2:3, Daniel 8:24, and 9:21. Someone's going to say, well, why do you bring New Testament? Because the New Testament proclaims it just as well as the Old Testament proclaims it just as well as the New Testament. Mostly as we go back to Daniel, Daniel has prophesied this way before Revelation was written. I've always, in the 5 years I've been your pastor, I've taught you what? Connect the Scriptures. Connect the Scriptures. 10, there will be a challenge of authority from the east at the end of the tribulation. Revelation 16, 12 through 16. This is the final phase of Armageddon. When there will be someone come up against the beast and the Antichrist and the false prophet, their authority. Final phase before Armageddon. Revelation 16, 12 through 16, the sixth angel. This is only going on during the fifth bowl, the fifth angel. Now, can it happen within a day or two? Can it happen? Well, yeah, a lot of things can happen within a 24-hour period. It could happen a week. It could happen a month. Most likely, it will take 3.5 years because that's how long the ones that are left behind that will have the source for 3.5 years. So we're looking at 3.5 years. How long is 3.5 years? Remember what Paul says? God's timing is not our time. God's ways are not our ways. So it could happen in a day. It could happen in a week. But if we think of 3.5 years, we're thinking what? 3.5 years of what? Our time. But what's 3.5 years to God? The sixth angel will pour out his bowl, the great river Euphrates, and its waters was dried up. Notice, it only says in the book of Revelation, the only river that's going to be dried up is what? The Euphrates. The Euphrates has been there since when? Since the beginning. God created heaven and earth. Euphrates have been there for all these years. Oh, if you go back and remember, I talked about what's in the Euphrates? 4 angels. And they won't be released till when? Till it's dried up. I said no nation from the west will come to the, or from the east will come to the west to conquer. It's always been what? Going this way. Euphrates now is dried up. So with the Euphrates being dried up, what do you think is going to happen? The mountain range called Har Megiddo. I'm still doing that mountain range. Megiddo is also where Solomon had one of his largest temples or castles or mansions, whatever you want to call it, but it was large. I'm still doing that. The city has the same name, is located in Israel. I stood on Israel is not this one. This is a Har-Megiddo. It's a location where the battle will take place between the beast of the sea and his armies and Jesus. Is it any wonder, with that river dried up, it'll make it possible for 200 million soldiers to come from the east in order to get to Megiddo in the first place. 200 million. On a different note, the driving up the river actually slaps. It's a slap towards the devil. You know, remember the medieval times or colonial times, if someone had a problem with someone, they'll slap them in the face with a glove and challenge him. That's what God's doing to Satan right now. Or when this happens, he'll slap Satan in the face and says, I dare you, I challenge you. Didn't we have a president that was involved in dueling? And that's what God's saying here to Satan. I challenge you to a duel. He says, go ahead and send your 200 million soldiers. Revelation 17 to 21, Matthew 24 to 24. And I think I've mentioned quite a few times that my theology and where I am at as a pastor, I use Matthew 24 and 25 as my basis. Matthew 24, 24. 2 Thessalonians 2, 8 through 10. Seventh bowl. Oh, he said, thank goodness we're at the seventh bowl. Widespread destruction. At this point, all warnings are gone, timelines are over, and the end has come. See, my friends, that seventh bowl, a widespread destruction. How to identify the true prophet? Well, that was a percent. I missed a couple. Anyway, we won't go into that. The only thing left, the final return of Christ in all of his glory, the judgments for those still alive. And the punishment for Satan on top of that. Check out the entrance that Christ is going to make when he returns the final fight. Christ returns to earth. Revelation 19, 11 through 16. The arrival of Christ. I saw heaven standing open there before me. What? Was what? White horse. How many is going to be looking at Revelation 6 and see the white horse? You're going to think who? Christ. Because as I started to study, Tom asked, is this the four horsemen? How many is going to take say, oh, yeah, this is our, what? Our Messiah, our God. White horse whose rider is called faithful and true. With justice he judges and makes war. His eyes are like blazing fire. On his head are many crowns. He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. He is dressed in a robe. Notice how he's dressed. In a robe dipped in blood. And his name is what? The Word of God. I've said it in 28 years of ministry. Read the Word of God. No. The unification of the armies of the earth. Eventually these enemy forces will see God, and there's heavenly forces coming down from heaven will wage war against them. It's hard to tell when all this happens exactly. The roots will probably occur before Christ comes. But since it's listed after Christ's return, We'll place it here at the end times timeline. For me to put dates on it, time on it, days on it, years on it, it's wrong. Because we go back to Matthew 24, and Christ says himself, no man knows the hour or the time or the day that he'll come again. Only who? The Father. If the Son didn't know, then why are we worried about it? The main part here is we think about the end times, but we need to understand the end times. We need to understand the book of Revelation. We need to understand what's going to happen in a sense that we need to be aware, and we need to be focused on whom? God. We need to be focused on God every day of our lives, every hour, every minute, every second. We need to be focused on Him now. I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gather together and make war against the rider on his horse and his army. It's no wise speculation, since the Bible does not give any detailed information regarding the mark. That shouldn't be there. The above I mentioned, that shouldn't be there. And that is out of place. The final battle. Boy, I was in a hurry this morning. And what made me in a hurry is I usually try to get everything done before RJ gets up, and this morning he was scratching the door. The final battle. The beast was captured, with him the false prophet. We talk about the false prophet. The beast, the false prophet, who performed miraculous signs on his behalf. And these signs he deluded those who received the mark of the beast, worshipped his image. The two of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur. Revelation 19:20-21. The rest of them were killed with the sword that came out of his mouth of the rider on the horse. And notice the birds gorged. You know, you don't see where the birds are killed. But there's birds left. There are birds left. They'll gorge on the bodies, on the flesh of the ones that are killed. I saw an angel come down out of heaven, having a key to the abyss, holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, the ancient serpent. Notice how many he throws into the lake of sulfur. The dragon, ancient serpent, devil, or Satan, and he bound him for 1,000 years. Did you get all that? After it's all said and done, the battle of the ages are about to hit. The war is as simple as simply having an angel pick up Satan, tie him with a chain, and throw him in the pit. See? Satan is only as strong as you make him. We need to really remember that Christ and the angels of God is much stronger. Satan's weak. And the only time he comes strong is what? When we focus upon him instead of God. Focus upon the things that we should not be doing instead of the things that we should be doing. When we don't focus upon God, we make Satan weak. The world is very near to its end. Acts 1:10-11. They were looking intently into the sky as he was going, and suddenly 2 men dressed in white stood before them. Men of Galilee, they said, why do you stand here looking into the sky? The same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come back the same way you had seen him go into heaven. Let's focus on God. Let's focus on worship. Let's focus on what can we do, maybe to bring more into the very kingdom of God and not have to go through all that. I hope you enjoyed the study. I hope you enjoyed the time. It has put me under a lot of pressure, especially when I work and so forth, and at night studying. And I can put away a couple books now, and so forth. As I mentioned, in October we'll start looking Saturday night, and those papers that I handed out, we'll start getting into them a little bit more, and I hope you come with questions. I hope your heart was blessed, and most of all, your spiritual life was enriched, and your knowledge of the Word.